So a slightly different format of video for today, and I'm going to start with the story. So the title of this video is How to Rebuild a Photography Business for £5,000. And I'll tell you the story as to why this is on my radar and always has been. So many of you all know I've run a successful professional photography business in the UK for nearly 30 years now. And there have been some ups and downs along the way, would be the best way to describe it. At the moment, everything's going really well, but you never know what's around the corner. And I'm going to take you back a couple of decades to a time when I was a bit down on my luck. Things weren't going so well for me. Things had gone a bit wrong. And I won't go too much into detail, but to my name, I had a bag of cameras, a laptop computer, no car, nowhere in particular to live that was my own. And I was pretty down on my luck. And as has often happened in my world, is that an assignment will arrive that changes that changes kind of, a client somewhere finds me and asks me to do some work, and that then kind of kickstarts things happening again. And so this was the case. I got an assignment for a travel magazine to go and do a few days assignment in a location in England. Didn't have a car, so I had to borrow a car. And just about this time, I've got my first dig camera, a bunch of lenses, a laptop computer, and I've managed to scrape together just about enough money to be able to buy a car of my own as well. Got a few quid in cash. I don't know what to do with the actual physical cash because, I could lose it, right? So I do what I think is the most sensible thing and put it in my camera bag along with my other precious possessions, my cameras and my laptop. Go off on this assignment. First location, sunrise. Shoot an hour or so of sunrise, getting exactly what I need. Go back to the car park and look at a map to decide where to go for the next location. Choose a place about an hour or so away and head off. Get to the next location, all ready to get going again. Nice light, everything's good. Go to the boot of the car, open it, no camera bag. And just that sense of horror that I'm sure we can all relate to, kind of, and then the impending kind of dun 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 issues of what that means. No assignment, no money, no more assignments, no cameras, no anything. I can't tell you. Basically, I've left the camera bag in the middle of the car park. I don't know why, but I did. It happens. I can't tell you the dark places that I went to on that journey back to the car park, imagining that it's gone. Get back to the car park. The bag is not there, and I just kind of go into sort of a spiraling despair, thinking, what the hell am I going to do? And I guess it's about this point that maybe the first trigger of what I'm talking about today, of how can I rebuild this bloody thing? How can I get back to being operational again? How can I beg, borrow, or steal some money to get back? I didn't acknowledge probably what that was at the time, but to cut a long story short, I walk around, can't find it, but then I go to where you buy the car parking tickets, and then there's a little sign on it saying, to the owner of the rucksack, go to X, this location on the corner of the town that I was in. And I went there thinking, oh God, it was for the bag, so I thought someone's probably just taken the kit out and ditched the bag or take the money out. Anyway, I get there and there's a guy just unloading camera equipment, laptop, and then leafing through the money as I walk in, and he kind of looks at me and goes, he instantly knows. He looks at me and goes, "You're the luckiest man in the world." And I was like, I know, man. That's just extraordinary. Some kind soul. And I never found out who it was. But I went outside and I was quite emotional, got it all back. I was quite emotional, to be honest. I went and saw there's this old guy sitting in his van, and it wasn't him. It had nothing to do with it. But I went up to him and told him the story. And it was quite one of those sort of emotional, passionate conversations that you have with people sometimes, like under intense moments of pressure, where I explained everything that had happened to him. And he just looked in my eyes, and with tears in his eyes, he said, "You remind me of my son." And, I wish I'd explored that more. I wish I'd sat with him more, because there was obviously a story there, and I was just probably all too full of my own kind of emotions to be able to sort of remember too much. Anyway, we had a nice chat and I moved on with the assignment. Anyway, it left me with this kind of, I guess, stitch in my brain that quite often ever since I've run the script of, well, what happens if that happens again? What happens if you lose everything? How do you rebuild? You know, I've built up quite a lot of investment into equipment and gear and stuff over the years. And what do you do if all of that goes? And I know people talk about insurance, and insurance is the obvious solution for this. But, you know, let's just play the game. At that time, I didn't have insurance, right? That was, you know, should have had insurance, shouldn't have left the bag, should have, could have, would have. Things don't always work out in the way that you would, you know, you would like, right? So I play the game of how can I rebuild my business? And I've settled on the sum of £5,000 because I think that is the figure of money that you can, you know, under times of immense pressure, maybe you can beg, borrow, or steal that kind of money for a short period of time, get your hands on it, if you're lucky, who knows, to rebuild. And then you obviously can make back some money by shooting. So I'm going to play the game of how can I rebuild my business if everything goes wrong today for £5,000. And I'm talking computer that can process lots of raw files, something that's very capable. I'm talking about equipment that I can actually do real assignments with, not, you know, not play at. It's real tools for the job, okay? So I'm talking about enough photography equipment to get all of my assignments done. I don't think I can stretch to lighting for this kind of budget, but we'll see. And I'm talking computer, cameras, lenses. I don't know about some of the extra bits and pieces that you need, and a car, because I need wheels. I live in the middle of nowhere. I need wheels to get to my assignment, right? So I need to be able to budget for a new whip. And, you know, I'm breaking that £5,000 down into grand for a computer, £3,000 for camera equipment, and somewhere around £1,000 for a car. But we will see, right? I might have to kind of, you know, shuffle that budget around. And I would love it if you would play along and you would tell me what you would buy. Have a look. How would you do that for £5,000? Or in fact, whatever your particular setup is or lifestyle is, how can you rebuild for that kind of money and get yourself back on track? You know, it's a game, right? So this is fiction. So, you know, excuse me if there's a little bit of hypocrisy or, you know, ridiculousness in this, but you get the kind of gist of the idea. So I'm going to dive onto the computer. We'll start with camera equipment, and then we'll go computer, and then we'll go car to end up. Okay, so here we go. So to begin with, let's talk about camera equipment. And I'm talking Canon. Holy smoke, if we got into all the other companies, I do not know where we would begin. But let's talk Canon. That's kind of my thing. So I've thought long and hard about this, and I'm thinking, can I cope? Obviously, the DSLR market is awash with good secondhand gear. So I'm thinking, you know, in order to get what I need, I'm thinking 5D Mark IV, 5D Mark III. But then I kind of have to ask the question of, do I need 4K video? And actually, I kind of do, to be perfectly honest. And also, I've become, you know, with my aging eyesight, I've become a little bit reliant on the mirrorless system. Do I need an R camera? Could I make do with a DSLR? Do you know what? I think I need an R camera. So I'm going to set myself some sort of barriers here. I've just looked on MPB, which is a good place for us to start, this is not sponsored, by the way. This is a company in the UK that sells secondhand camera equipment. You can find stuff a bit cheaper elsewhere, but I thought this would be a good guide to start. So I'm thinking I can't afford an R5. No way. I don't want the R8 because it's only got the single card slot, and as a main camera, I think that wouldn't necessarily work. So we could look at the original R, but then I'm thinking probably not. I'm sort of forced into this sort of R6 Mark II place. Both cameras that I've used a bit, but not extensively, but I know that they're both very capable, and I know they've both got dual card slots. I know that they both do 4K video. I know that they both have the eye autofocus. So I'm probably going to be looking at EF lenses to cover the range that I need. So look, on MPB, they've got an R6 Mark II. They've got only one. It's like new. It's £1,609. I think that's probably a little bit much, but you know, it's a consideration, isn't it? Or we could go back to the original R6, and they have one here. They've got a lot. They've got a load of them. Like new, they're about 1,119. But then if you go back to their cheaper ones, excellent ones, What's the cheapest that you can get? Oh, good Lord. Okay, they've got literally loads. Okay, so the cheapest excellent condition one they've got is £1,029. Let's have that. Let's add that to the basket. That's probably a good place to start, isn't it? We'll see how we move on. Okay, so for kit, the obvious thing to look for would be the 24-105, the EF-F4, and they've got the, good Lord, they've got the original Mark 1 24-105 IS USM. It ranges in price from $139 to $299. And that would be a great kind of all-rounder, wouldn't it? But I don't know if that is a sensible choice at the moment, because I need a wide-angle lens, and I'm going to look at the old trusty, right? Wide-angle, there's only one for me that will be the one, which is the Canon 16-35 f4 LIS. Now, I've done a video on this. This is a belter of a lens, £309 to 394 quid. That is a highly adaptable lens that would get a lot of work done on professional assignments, right? 379 quid in excellent condition. Now, I could go to that RF 16mm prime, couldn't I? For a wide angle. And then the 24-105? Tell you what, let's add some of these things into the basket. So there's one here for £309 for that 16-35. For £309. Add to basket straight away, right? What's next, right? The next piece of vital equipment for me is you can hear it. You can hear it coming out of my mouth already, can't you? 70-200, 2.8. Now, is it still the vital piece of equipment? Let's see how much they are. Canon 70 to... I'm not really in touch with much second-hand prices, if I'm honest. Canon EF 70-200mm 2.8. Now, there's a number of different ones that you can get. You don't want the non-image stabilized one, in my opinion, just because it's still very fine. I've had one for years, but I just like the image stabilization. I've currently got the original IS one, and then there's the Mark II and the Mark III. I'd love that Mark III because that's a beauty, and I'd love the Mark II. But the difference in price, so the original IS one on MPB, the difference, you can get one for £444 up to 700, and then you're jumping up to 629 for the Mark II. So in these circumstances, I think I'd rather save the money and get the original IS with a view to upgrading it. Let's have a look, see what condition that's in. So 679 for most of them in excellent condition. 619 in good condition. Well, we're getting right down to the bottom of the barrel here with these 569, 509, see more, 474. 444 is in well-used condition. You know what? Mine's been well-used for the last decade, and it still works fine. I mean, let's have a look. You don't get a lens hood with that one. Looking at the pictures, I mean, it's battered, yeah. But if it works, then it kind of works. If it's, you know, screw it. So I'm going to add that to the basket. How do we do this? Add to basket. So we are up to £1,782, and we are covered for main camera, telephoto, and wide angle. Now, I would almost think is like in the RF market. Let's see what the RF 16mm STM is. Now you can get one of those. They've got 8 available for 239 quid. Ooh. That's very cool, but it's not a 16 to 35. How often do you use the extra bit of range? Quite often. The 16 to 35 is a very adaptable, versatile lens, and it's very sharp. It's brilliant for everything. Because I'm just thinking like RF 16mm fixed, and then what would you do about a telephoto? You tell me what you're thinking. I'm going to stick with these adapted lenses, right, for the time being, I think. Tell you what, let's stick with that for the time being. What are we going to do about a mid-range lens? Now, if I was using only RF lenses, I would definitely get the RF 50, but actually, I'm not a huge fan of that lens. I will do a video about it soon, but the nifty 50 that I gravitate to, I've done a few videos on some of the EF ones. I don't think I've ever done a video on the STM EF 1.8, and that is a great lens, and on the adapter it's a great lens. So how much is that then? EF 50mm STM. I bet they're quite expensive. £109 for an excellent one. You can get the RF one for that, can't you? Roughly, let's have a look. RF 50. Okay, I don't think they have any. That's bizarre. No, I don't think they have any. But we could look on another site for that. I think that's about £100. But just for the sake of today's argument, let's have a look at that EF 50mm STM, and we'll choose one that's again a bit battered, because we're a bit battered, right? And this is because I'm buying it from MPB. If it's too battered, it can go back, and I'll find a different way of doing it, right? £72, cosmetic condition good, screw it, that's a bargain and a half. Add it to basket. You can probably buy one of those new for not a great deal more than that. So we're up to £1,854. It's going rather well. Now, flash, right? I'm not going to go into lighting because lighting's going to get out of control. But in terms of Canon, speed light, we could go down the Godox road, and we could probably go onto one of those websites and buy quite a lot of Godox stuff for a couple of £100 that would be like trigger and a speed light and possibly a couple of speed lights. So you go onto eBay and buy some of that Yongnuo stuff. But I don't think we'll do that. I think what we'll do is we'll just look for a speed light. So the speed light that I've been using is the 430EX Mark III with the RT one, which I did a video on again. But I am told that the bargain of bargains is the Mark II. And indeed, so the 430 Mark III is like £200 or something like that, £300 new. But in like new condition, you can get the 430 for, in well-used condition, let's go well-used again, right? Screw it. We can get that for £38. Add that to the basket. Now we are talking, we're kind of getting somewhere now. We're getting somewhere for £1,892. What else do we need? We need a standard zoom, right? And we probably need a backup body because, going on professional assignments for clients, you kind of need a backup body. And I would kind of like... Now, in terms of... There is a little zoom that I got with my R8, which is the RF 24 to 50. And, oh, it's quite expensive. £139. But I thought that might be quite a nice kind of thing to have just for those sorts of jobs. Let's say you're doing a job outside, like presentations or something, or, people standing in front of stuff, all of that kind of stuff. Sometimes a standard zoom is really cool for that. And I don't think I can afford to stretch to, one of the L lenses. Although we've got a bit of budget spare. Let's look for a second body. So I'm thinking second body could be, what is an R8? What can you get the R8 for? That's even more. That's more money. The R8 is more money than the R6 Mark II. Okay. I guess because I'm using adapted EF lenses, I guess I could use an EF DSLR body as a backup. What would be a really good price sensible 5D Mark II? 5D Mark III? 6D? 60D, 70D. What can you get a 70D for? Holy moly. So you can get... This is a great game. I love this kind of thing. You can get a 70D, which is a great camera, for less than 300 quid for an excellent one, and then dropping down in price to like not a great deal at all. Let's get rid of this, and let's then look at, what about a 6D? 6D is really the thinking man's camera. Pretty simple. 169 to 389. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? What about a 5D Mark III? That's 5D Mark III is, they're doing it like that. Like that. Let's have a look. I love the 5D Mark III. It's one of my all-time favourites. They're still holding good money. 469 for an excellent one. See more. What can you get as they get a bit more battered? Let's have a look. And I don't care about a battered 5D3 because they're tough as old boots. 444. Dual card slots. Does shoot really nice video. Only 1080, but it's nice. Great backup camera. What do you think? See, almost like not a backup camera. It's almost as good as the R6, to be perfectly honest. What about 5D? What could you get a 5D Mark IV for? 5D Mark IV, 474. Good Lord, this is like some great deals here. 5D Mark II. Right, I am gonna go for a... I'm not too worried about the dual card slots for the second camera, and I'm not too worried about 4K video for it either. So that would mean the 6D would be a really interesting proposition. What do you get a battered 6D for? Okay. No, 5D Mark III. I know that camera and I have had so much history of successful assignments that what a lovely thing to restart your broken photography career with. And look, I'm not paying £569 for one, but they've got a good one here with a shutter count of 155. They've got a good cosmetic condition one here with 57,000 clicks for 439. I don't care if it's a bit battered. We're having that one. Right, I'm feeling quite good about this. We've spent £233 and £2,331. We need a bag. Do they do bags on here? Do they do bags on MPB? Let's have a little look. We're kind of, you know, photo accessories, bags and cases. What they got in a bag? You need a bag to put all of this stuff in. Peak design. I don't like that Peak Design stuff very much, to be perfectly honest. Really expensive. They've got Think Tank. They've got Low Pro. I'm a big fan of Low Pro. Tamrac, Low Pro, Low Pro, Low Pro, Low Pro. Let's go. Can you sort it from? Let's have a little look. Brand. Let's go to just Low Pro. Ooh, I've got some Cater ones as well. That's an interesting brand. Low Pro. What you got? What you got, Low Pro? Need something to put a computer in because we've yet to find that. I don't know. The flip side was an interesting bag. 500 all weather. I've got one of these somewhere, and I've always rated it. Apart from you lose the gear out the back sometimes. Let's come back to that. Right, the bag. We'll see. Also, there's that Amazon Basics rucksack, which was really great for all of that stuff. That was only about 40 quid or something like that. Should we just add this one, and then we've got one, and we could always kind of play with that later. Okay, so I'm covered on my focal length. I don't have a standard zoom. I could probably get around that one way or another. There's a few other bits and pieces I could, add to that. But we've got, bearing in mind that we were aiming for a £3,000 budget and we've spent 2,400, we're doing all right. Right. Let's look for a computer. Now, I am a big fan of Apple Mac. I've had PCs. I had PCs for years, and I exhausted myself to the point of just, in the end, I ended up punching a laptop out in the middle of a shoot. Literally, the worst possible moment. Everything went red in my brain. The PC locked up again, and I just said, I've had enough of this. I'm not doing this for a minute longer. And I just went data out the window, computer totally effed. No, awful. Managed to sort it out. Never been back. That day, went out and bought a MacBook Pro, and I have not looked back. I'm no fanboy. I don't like the brand. They just do a job for me. It's a tool, right? So I buy Apple computers, and I would not go back. So for me, I need a good Apple Mac. I can't afford to buy a new one. So I'm talking, I've got a variety now in my business, but I'm talking MacBook Pro does the job. And there is a good market in second-hand Apple Macs. And in England, there is a company called Hoxton Macs, again, not sponsored or anything like that, where you get kind of warranty and refurbished computer. And so I am currently using this thing, which is an M2 MacBook Pro, and it has been really cool. Fingers crossed. Amazing piece of equipment. And so something like that would be a MacBook Pro, but with the Silicon M processor in it. You need the MacBook Pro because they're a bit bigger and you've got various different slots in the side that you need, and a bit better battery life, a bit more powerful. So as opposed to a MacBook Air, in my opinion, you could probably find something of really great value, kind of from Dell or something like that, if you wanted to go to the dark side, but I don't. I want to get a MacBook Pro. So here we go. At the moment, they're doing M4 processors, the M3 processor before. This is the M2, and then there's the M1 before that. I quite like this big 16-inch screen, but I don't think I'll be able to stretch to one of those. So let's just look at a MacBook Pro 14-inch. I mean, that would be a great compromise. Can you get one for less than £1,000? That's the question, I suppose. They start at £1,099, and that's in fair condition, and then they raise up a bit more. Let's just have a look at the 16 MacBook Pro. What is the so the M1 start at 525 for a 13-inch M1. That would be okay, but we've got a little bit more extra money left lying around now because we've saved a little bit on camera equipment. M1 14-inch 849. I'm going to go, I think that M2 Pro, let me just go back to that. I think that M2 Pro, M2 13-inch, at 795. Let's have a look at that. 745. What's that got in it? It's got not a great size spec. I'm looking for sort of 16 gig RAM, I suppose. I'm looking 16 gig RAM. I don't really care about the hard drive size because I'll probably beg, borrow, or steal a external SSD to go into the side of it. Let's have a look. 16 gig. What does that cost you? Because then, 1095. Fair condition. Should we get that one? I don't care what. If 512 gigabyte SSD, that's enough. 16 gigabyte memory for the RAM in, can you get a space grey one? 1095. Add to bag. 1095. And what did we spend at the MPB? 2.4, wasn't it? So we've spent £3,500, which leads us £1,500 to find a car. If we get it cheaper, that would be great. We could get a deal. Let's dive on to Auto Trader and have a look. Let's put £1,500. So again, Auto Trader is a company in the UK where you can find used cars. And let's have a look. £1,500 is a maximum limit. Okay, so I have already there is a wide range of cars that you can buy. We're going to just forget the distance because some poor soul's going to have to go and pick this thing up, right? But we'll forget that. Let's just look at what you can get for 1,500. Mercedes E-Class. Wow. No advisories. The value of used cars, like cheap used cars, that never fails to amaze me. And I've had a lot over the years. I've already seen a few that I definitely would buy. So there we are, straight off the bat. Alfa Romeo GT for less than £1,300. I've always wanted one of these. I had an Alfa Romeo, I can't remember what it was, a sport wagon or something a few years ago. That was just an amazing car. I was telling my daughter about this the other day. I bought it for, I can't remember how much money, not a great deal of money. And it was just wonderful. I bought it and straight away went away on assignment to North Wales. And I was driving through the hills of North Wales with that 2-litre twin spark engine, just kind of high revving engine in my Alfa, through the misty gloom of sunrise in North Wales, just thinking, what a great car. I mean, that was the high point of that car because it was an old Alfa Romeo and it had all these problems. Like, for example, if you went round a left-hand corner, the front passenger door would just fly open, which is not the best by any means. It had other issues as well. Like the instrument panel would be like a Christmas tree flashing on and off. And actually, it's interesting that I think one of my first kind of journeys into YouTube happened with that car, where the problem with the front door I fixed because I found a bloke online that said, it was like, have you got an Alfa Romeo that the door flies open of every now and again? Yes. Then what you need is this fix. And I was like, okay, I'm into this. And he's like, go out and get yourself a jumbo-sized pot of WD-40 from the hardware store. He goes, come back, find the little squirty thing, shove it in the nozzle and empty half the tin of WD-40 into your door. Door still opening when you go around corners. Don't worry, keep squirting until you see a load of black gunk come out the bottom of the door. And I'm like, okay. Whole tube of WD-40 into the door. Black gunk comes out the bottom. Door does not fly open anymore. I love stuff like that. That car was great until I sold it on eBay for 99p or whatever the hell it was. And then I found it in somewhere like Manchester a few days later, up on bricks, kind of with broken down on the back. It was, I don't know. Anyway, look, you can get an Alfa Romeo GT with less than 100,000 miles on the clock for our budget. Black line as well. Is that the car already? Look, you can get something much more sensible. You can get a Ford Focus, 1.8 TDCi, good spec, 92,000 for 1,500 quid. I'm boring myself already. Maybe the Alpha's not quite got the room, right? But at the moment, we've only got, in my real life, I end up carrying loads of stuff on assignment. But if I've only got one bag full of a few cameras and lenses, then I would be able to get away with the Alfa Romeo GT. That Mercedes E-Class though, look at that, 1,500 view gallery. Good Lord. Is that? Oh, it looks a bit manky, but who cares? You could clean that, right? Is that the diesel? That's the 2.8 diesel as well, 3 litre. It's the E280 3 litre G-Tronic diesel. So it would probably be amazing. 144,000 miles. Good Lord. I hope you're following along. Let me know what you're choosing out of all of this, you know. Good Lord. Hyundai Santa Fe, that'll probably be all right. What about Honda? What can you get from Honda? Because a friend of mine's got a CRV that he reckons is like the... Oh, look, there is a CRV. Just as I say it appears. He reckons the petrol one is amazing. Let's see if we can filter it down by make. Honda, Hero Honda, CRV. You get 22 of them. Oh my word, look at this one. That is a lot. That's a private seller. View gallery. That is a lot of car for the money, isn't it? That is a lot. It's got a ding in the back, but I wouldn't care about that. What are you saying? Should we have the Honda? No, we're having the Alpha. That's it. We're having the Alpha. So we've spent £4,500 so far. We've got £1,500 left. The Alpha was how much? Let's go back. Make a model. Make Alfa Romeo. Search. There's quite a lot of Alphas for that kind of money. Let's not go into that. That is 1,200. We've left £210. We can get memory cards. We could get a cheap tripod. We could get some petrol. There's obviously other things like insurance. We're talking fiction here. Let's not get too bogged down in detail. Let me know your thoughts. What would you have? I hope you've so out of nothing, we're driving around in an Alpha GT with black leather interior. We've got a 5D Mark III and an R6. We've got 16 to 35, we've got 50mm, we got 70 to 200, and we've got a flash gun. And we've got a MacBook Pro M4 14-inch. It's not a bad setup for £5 grand. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.
There's a bloke that just walked past. I think he thinks I'm in here dogging or something. You never know. He's got one of those he's got his too tight trousers on and funny little polished shoes, and he's got a shirt and tie. I think he looks like some kind of, I don't know what he looks like, but he's looking in my window just shaking his head. There's another one appeared. I'm a little bit concerned now.